What's up, y'all? This is Lou. So right now we're going to discuss my walkout story, and I'm not talking about my first and only pro boxing match. I'm instead referring to my time in the labor sector, average working class citizen. So let me preface the walkout story with the moment that I kind of learned the power that labor actually holds. And this was when I was living in Hampton, Virginia. And I can say the name now because it's defunct, but I was working at a restaurant called Bennigan's. And I watched a line cook essentially make a manager shed tears. They got into some kind of argument. There was drama. The manager, Bill, who kind of resembled, like, let's say Peter Griffin from Family Guy if he got gastric bypass surgery. That's how Bill looked, right? So he said some sideways stuff to Daryl, who was the head cook, the main line cook. There was him, a fry cook, and a prep cook. You know, they call it prep cook, also called sous chef. But Daryl just walked out. It was like 6 o'clock, between 6 and 6:30. Just walked out. Happy hour was at 7 o'clock, so they needed to start doing appetizers for the happy hour. And Daryl was just not having it. He was like, "Nope, I'm going home. I'm done. You've said what you've said. You can't take it back." I remember him saying, "I'm not your kid. I'm a grown man. I'm 34 years old." I remember Daryl used to act like he was ancient. Now I'm 34 years old. You're not talking to me like that. All right. Bill literally chased him into the parking lot. Daryl, you can't leave. Daryl, oh my God, happy hour's gonna start. The dinner rush is right after that. Daryl, you can't leave me. Nope, I ain't having it. You so brave, you get back there and cook them steaks. And I remember the fry cook wouldn't even turn around. Bill tried to talk to him. The fry cook had his back to him because the fry station was on the back wall. And the express was on this side. Fry cook's like on the fryer, like, nope. That's not my job. I don't do that. You want chicken fingers, you want French fries, you want onion rings, you want mozzarella sticks. That's my job. I don't do that. That's not my job. Go talk to Daryl. So he chased Daryl into the parking lot. And Daryl, man, whatever you need, man, whatever it is, you tell me what you want. Tell me what you want, Daryl. You just can't leave me. You just can't leave me tonight like this. Well, I want $2 more an hour, and I'm not working weekends. Done. Whatever you need. And I was like, man. Now, keep in mind, this was after my experiences. At the time, I was bussing tables and doing some hosting. I was hoping to move into serving, but I ended up washing dishes. But this was after there was a night, and keep in mind, I'm like 16, 17 years old. I don't remember. I was so sick that night at work, right? Had a cold. I mean, I had mucus and snot, like, just dripping from my face. And people sitting there eating, telling Bill, excuse me, sir, that kid over there is sick. Like, we're watching him clean tables and, like, he's dripping from his nose. Oh, really? Oh, I'll have to talk to him about that. He never sent me home. I worked that whole night. I didn't get out till like 12:30. That's kind of dude Bill was. But Daryl's whole experience with Bill alerted me to the fact that labor has some power, right? So I kept this in mind as I went along in life, and I ended up working for a beer distributor. We were loading side loader trucks. Side loaders, they have like different bay doors on each side of the truck. Truck has two sides. And you lift the bay doors and load things in. And then, people come and either pull them out by hand or you need a forklift. So when I got hired, it's a salary job. And when I got hired, which I thought was kind of weird that the stackers in the warehouse were on salary. Like they were the lowest position in the whole place. Normally, if the lowest position is on salary, it's because you work the most hours. So they had 6 men, and I think it was 3 forklift drivers and then a keg guy who did the kegs. Sometimes he would come and help us because he was very fast. He had been at that company for a long time. Um, so we were able to there were 3 trucks were able to be in the loading dock at once, where the warehouse was right next to it, as like a drive-through. So when the truck is parked, on the right side is the warehouse where all the beer is at. The left side is the office and all that stuff. So we're loading, and what I was told when I was hired was that if a man ever calls in, you get his pay for the day, which that makes sense. If I'm doing his work, I should get his pay, right? So that's what I was told. And sorry, my camera's a little shaky, but so they changed foreman, right? The old foreman was a guy named Will, who I remember he used to take up for the workers a lot. He ended up moving to another job, and they hired a new foreman, and he was a minority. And I wonder if that was strategic, because we thought he was going to be a lot more of an advocate for the workers, but he really wasn't. He was really kind of like management's guy. And I heard stories about the 2 owners of the company they were legacy owned. They were nepo babies. Like their grandfather was the guy who the distributing company was named after. They inherited it from their parents. So they were kind of like just disconnected from the whole thing. Like they didn't really know much about how it worked. All they knew was it made them money every month. So I remember one night, the night that kind of, the straw that broke the camel's back was there was one night where they cut the crew. So they had cut the crew. They cut the crew from 6 men to 5 men. So now we can only load 2 trucks at a time and half a one. That made everything so much slower. It was ridiculous. And they cut 1 forklift driver. So now they only had 2 forklift drivers. Which again, no, so now we only had 2 where we used to have 3. So it just made everything way more complicated and way slower. And we were already pulling 10 to 12 hour days to get those trucks loaded. Especially in the summertime, beer trucks go back to warehouses empty, like completely empty. This was in summertime. So one night, we were already mad about the cut, right? Because nobody asked us if it was cool that they just cut people. But they did, as like, I guess, a cost saving measure, how management thinks. So we had a 5-man crew, 3 guys called in, and 1 forklift driver. So there were literally 2 stackers, 1 forklift driver. That's it. I went to work that night at 5 in the afternoon. I didn't go home till 9 o'clock the next morning. And keep in mind, I'm loading beer into trucks primarily by hand. If I'm not loading it, physically putting it in the truck, I'm building pallets for the forklift guys. And I had been starting to learn how to operate a forklift. That night, that day I had to, and I'm not getting paid like a forklift driver. Their pay is more. But I'm having to do that because we were going so slow. They just get on that forklift. So we were at least expecting a significantly higher check at the end of the week. The end of the week comes. We thought we were going to get 3 guys' days worth of pay. And all of us got $5 extra. That's it. If our pay was $385, we got $390. That's it. Now keep in mind, I was living on my own. I had rent to pay. I was trying to fix my car. My car was, shaky at the time. And I'm doing 12 hours worth of lifting beer for a notable company in the community. And they paid us $5 more an hour. So that was on a Friday. We all went in that Monday. And I remember there was just something in the air. Like the crew, like there was like this energy. We were like looking at each other in the eyes, like We're just all kind of looking around. And then I remember I looked at one dude. I can't remember his name. I wish I could. And even they had a forklift driver who had been there 7 years, and even he was giving us that same look. And I asked one of my coworkers, are you feeling this? He's like, nah, man. I was like, me neither. He was like, you want to go? Let's go. And we walked out, the whole crew. The whole crew walked out. In the event that a whole crew walks out, their policy is that the drivers have to come back and load their own trucks, regardless of how long it takes. So if they're supposed to come in and work at 7 in the morning, they're still loading trucks at 7 in the morning, guess what? Tough. That's their policy. So I imagine those drivers were very, very, very upset. And years later, I ran into someone, who I kind of only sort of knew, and I asked them, "Oh, where do you work at now?" "Oh, I work," and he named the distributing company that I used to work for, and I was like, "Oh, really? Oh, I used to work there." He's like, "Oh, seriously? Yeah." I was like, "So how is it?" He's like, "No, it's cool. It's real cool. The pay is good. Like da-da." He started naming all these conditions that we didn't have when we worked there, and I kind of like, yeah, that makes sense. I was like, "Did you ever hear about the walkout?" He's like, I heard something about that. Like a whole crew left. I was like, "Yeah, I was on that crew." He's like, "Really?" And I told him the same exact story I just shared with you guys. And he was like, "Man," he's like, "Yeah, like that place does not have a vibe like that at all now. Like everything's totally cool." I was like, "Yeah, good. Good for them. Good for you. And if it's a good job, I hope you hold on to it. They'll probably never hire me back, but I'm glad something good came out of it." So for those of you wondering why I'm on your left, that's one of my stories about labor and the power of walkouts, the power of striking. I encourage my students now to seek union jobs. And not only that, but I ask them, does your union actually advocate for you? Or are they full of a bunch of old curmudgeons who are just happy collecting table scraps of the owner of the company? Or, like, are they happy with their position, or do they think things should be better? And if they say that they're a bunch of curmudgeons who kowtow to the employers, then I always tell them, then you push for better delegation. You speak up or nominate somebody better for union leadership. Don't just get sucked into that, because that's the way you end up. Yeah, you get paid good now. 10 years from now might not be so good. You never know. So, or contract renegotiation might not be in your favor. So there's my walkout story. I hope you guys enjoyed it and maybe learned something. Like for the people, the working people, you have some power. The labor movement has already done a lot in this country, and it needs to continue to grow. This has been Lou on your left.